Well, it's our pleasure to be here this afternoon to talk to you a little bit about what we've been up to now over at West Campus. My name is Jessica Coviello. I am the director of the Doctor of Nursing Practice program at Yale University School of Nursing. To give you a little information about the School of Nursing, we are a part-time 3-year program meant for individuals who are fully employed, who are eager for a part-time program. They are all master's prepared nurses who are looking for a program in leadership and policy. We began our program only last year. We took in our first class in 2012, fall of last year. We are a hybrid program. We have 4 15-week courses. They meet monthly at the School of Nursing on site. And in between, they have online assignments, which include group work, using Adobe Connect as a means for meeting. They have online assignments, online resources. And other than those particular 15-week courses, we also have intensives. We have 5 intensives. They occur between terms, and we have 3 that run in the summer. So that is basically our program. We also have what we consider to be a special group that offers support to faculty who are not used to online learning, are not used to hybrid teaching. Janine Batten, who is a medical school and nursing school librarian, myself, and Ekaterina Ginzburg, who will be speaking to you in just a moment. Ekaterina is our educational expert and designer for the online program. And she is very pivotal to our success at Yale. But the 3 of us act as a team to mentor folks who are coming on board to teach in this modality for the first time. I have to tell you that personally, I very much enjoy the flipped classroom. I enjoy working with folks who've been out in the field and who are experienced. They bring a richness to the environment that is terrific. The flipped classroom, as you well know, is utilized with assignments that occur outside the classroom and a lot of hands-on facilitated work within the classroom itself. I think I've pretty much covered most of it. I'm going to hand it over to Ekaterina, who's going to talk to you a little bit more about our experiences. Oh, I also want to let you know that if you'd like to know a little bit more detail about the School of Nursing, I will leave some forms here at the desk for you to pick up that describe the program a little bit more thoroughly.
Hello. So we had quite a journey picking technology for our online students, hybrid students, whatever you comfortable calling them. We do have students from all over the United States, and our first cohort also has a student from overseas in Israel. She's located in Israel, and she, the first year, had asked to try and not come in on campus every month because it was difficult for her financially, and she has a family too. So we tried to find a way of how to bring her into the class when our students are actually on site in our classroom. So for that, we tried many things. We tried Skype. Wasn't that great of an idea because we have a class that speaks and Skype doesn't pick up every single person who talks in the classroom. Then we tried Adobe, which worked even worse for this particular instance, and again, it was because Adobe is not designed for that kind of setting. And so we finally decided to use Cisco system. So we're using ITV. We have a portable ITV. Well, that began on the old campus because we moved now. We don't need a portable one. We have one installed. But in the old campus, we did have to use a portable system to bring her into the class, and she was able to participate and hear everybody because the mic and everything else was more sophisticated for her to hear every single person in classroom. We also had a journey with our LMS, Learning Management System. We began with Classes V2, and we also used WordPress that served as a web page for the course that included schedule. I don't know if I can show it. I might. Everybody's seen Classes V2. So it just showed us, it showed the students schedule, the week by week, syllabus, resources that we used from the library, e-reserves. And it also had about the course kind of page. That's where we would film our faculty member, an introduction to the course, welcoming students, because we thought this personal touch would be very helpful for the students, especially if they haven't seen the new professor yet, haven't met them. And it had a bunch of hiccups as we were going through the first year. So the selection of Canvas that happened over the summer was something that we were waiting impatiently for. And when we got it and looked at it and thought of it and what we can possibly do now, we decided to switch our second cohort, not the first one because they were way too much used to classes V2. We didn't want to screw them up. So we used Canvas, and Jessica's course, which is actually happening right now in the spring semester, is the first course they're taking through Canvas. We also, was very important for us to have e-portfolio for the program that students could not only keep their work, but also use as a reflective piece. So the students actually go through essentials of the DMP program, and they reflect on how they think they meet them and how the classes are helping them, how professors are helping them, and how they can apply it for the future. So we have a lot, and I'm not going to go into too much detail. If you're interested, you can always contact us about it. So we use Canvas for e-portfolio as well, and so far it's working pretty well. So this is the first course, as I said, and you can see it right now on the screen. So we are taking baby steps with this LMS just because we just got this learning management system. We need to learn before we throw students in and can't provide support. We need to give students some time to get used to it, especially when they began with classes and they got used to a more simplistic way of delivered information. And I don't know what happened. I'm just going to select don't update now. It doesn't want to do that. Okay. So that's another thing. We also trying to integrate Adobe Connect with Canvas. We're working on this now, but for now students are actually logging in straight into Adobe, and they're using it for group work outside of on-site classes. So when they're on their own during weekends, they're all working nurses, so they have different schedules. Sometimes during night, sometimes because of the time difference, they need to meet at times where we can't really be there. So all of our students have licenses to be hosts in Adobe Connect. So they're able to create their own rooms, meeting rooms. They're able to open them whenever they want, close them, record them, whatever they need to do. So we purchased about 35 of those to cover all of our students, plus one DNP faculty at a time. We also have one for librarian and one for admissions, so that everybody can create the rooms and work in Adobe Connect. So that's something we also we thought works very well.
We talked a little bit about the flipped classroom, and one of the illustrations that Ekaterina is going to show you is what happens when you plan for an on-site class and a big snow comes. So we'll show you what we did last year when that occurred.
Right, so the students were scheduled to be on campus for that particular session. And like we said, they fly from all over the United States, plus I think the student was supposed to be this one time on site. A bunch of flights got canceled, but some of them didn't. So we had some students already flying from California. And as these students were flying from California and Iowa, or I don't remember which states exactly, the school decides to close. And we have no way of telling them what's going on and that there is no class. We couldn't report on campus as well, but we knew some of the students would be actually in New Haven. So not to lose the momentum, plus we knew that these people took day off from their works to be in this class. So we made a decision to still go on with the class. The class was supposed to be flipped. They were supposed to read a bunch of information, and then they would have group work on site with Jessica supervising each group, going from room to room, physical room to room, kind of assigned for 2.5 or so hours. That was the plan for on campus. And since we had to, and it was Thursday night, right before we were supposed to leave, we know that we can't really do that anymore. And we were also not sure if we can get out of our houses and drive to campus to meet those students who could make it. So we tried to cancel as many students' travel as possible. We still had a couple who flew in, and 7 o'clock in the morning. Well, actually, the night before, we decided to prep everything we possibly could. And we did notify them when to log in and where. We created a classroom. So we created a meeting room in Adobe, called it Classroom. And then we created a bunch of other rooms. So the second slide really shows the map of where our students were coming from. So it's not that important that we actually see that. It's showing where the students were from. And this was the Nemo blizzard, if anybody remembers, when we got snowed in for a bunch of days and there was no way we could meet the students even after. So this is the example of what the task was, and I briefly already described it. So the solution was to have Classes V2. We were still on Classes V2. We were not on Canvas. So we still used Classes V2 for all the resources for this particular thing. Then we used Adobe Connect, and like I said, we did a classroom, and then we created a bunch of group rooms, as if to imitate physical rooms where students would go and work on their group projects. And we would limit the attendance in that group only to the group members. Then we would have Jessica in her house with headphones. I would be in my house, and we had one person from ITS, David Hirsch. He helped us through this, who was also at his house with headphones and microphone. And then warm coffee and tea, whoever had the time to grab that. And the most important thing, we had good spirit. Because very shortly, when all students went live, we realized that Jessica didn't have a working microphone. It just stopped working. And she was the one to deliver all the content. So we had a fun way of flipping even more. And I would have Jessica on the phone, and she would speak with my accent to the students. She would speak to me, and I would speak to the students. Right, and then, and on the other side, I would have David Hirsch trying to solve that issue, so we would have this thing going. And my main concern was to mute myself every time I talked to David and not Jessica. And that didn't go well, but we kind of managed. The first 10 minutes were a bit tense, but students didn't really notice it much. So as a result, we had about half an hour to 40 minutes of introduction to the project they were supposed to work on. And after that, they split into groups. We divided them. I muted all of my groups. And Jessica was clicking on each room in Adobe, walking in and talking to the students. So it was really as if everybody was on campus. They loved it. Some of them didn't have to travel. They saved some money. They saved some hassle going through the snow and getting out of New Haven, because that was also not happening for a bunch of days. And I think we ended the class at 1:30. So it went a little longer than it would have in a regular classroom, but nobody seemed to mind. They all got food. They all got whatever they needed to do. We gave them some breaks during this time, and ourselves as well. And it went very well. And everybody completed what they needed to do. And at the end of that exercise, they all came back to the classroom again, the classroom room, and they gave presentations. Each group presented on what they were able to do in those 2.5 hours. So we didn't lose any learning time or opportunity. And the class didn't get backtracked or any of that. So it was pretty good. Everybody was happy. We still remember it's a very good experience for us.
And they actually enjoyed it. I mean, it was really with a sense of adventure that you need to go into this.
Good spirit.
And good spirit, as Ekaterina mentioned, and the students really were very happy that we were able to have the class. And it went well. In the end, it went well.
So right after that, we developed the disaster plan. And based on that experience and Sandy, because Sandy hit a couple of months earlier, we had some experiences. DMP wasn't lucky. On a day they were supposed to be here, something happened. And with the help of ITS, we developed a pretty big, detailed disaster plan for every single thing that might happen if we don't have an instructor on campus, but we have all students. If we don't have all students, but we have the instructor. If we have only partially students. So we have basically whatever happened to us, we have a solution. If something else happens, we will come up with another solution. So if you have any questions, you can always contact us, and we'll show you more. Any questions?
Well, thank you so much.